Before we get into today's edition of Just the Truth, Mike Lindell sent me a note yesterday. He has a special for the 6-piece towel set, $25 when you use promo code Joey. Just go to mypillow.com, use promo code Joey. You'll get the $25 offer on the 6-piece towel set, and I promise you, these will be the most comfortable, the most absorbent towels that you own. mypillow.com, use promo code Joey. Get the 6-piece towel set for just $25. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studio to lose weight for the last time. Visit myphdweightloss.com. According to the latest Fox News poll, for the first time, Vice President Kamala Harris edges former President Trump in a head-to-head matchup as more voters, apparently, according to the poll, see Harris as the candidate who will help the middle class, and Hispanics and independents are swinging in her direction for the first time. Hillary Clinton says Vice President Kamala Harris doesn't need to clarify her policy positions in interviews, and that the 2024 Democrat candidate was facing a double standard from voters and the media for asking her to do so. A U.S. official says that Israel was behind Lebanon, the pager attacks targeting Hezbollah, as new blasts were reported yesterday. And in an unusual move, the Teamsters will not make a presidential endorsement despite member support of President Donald Trump.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but you know they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
President Donald Trump had a packed house at his Long Island, New York rally last night, telling the crowd inside and the thousands of people standing outside who were watching on video monitors because they couldn't get in. The arena held about 16,000, and there were over 60,000 tickets requested. So do the math on that. But they had a very large area in the parking area for people to tailgate or just to hang out and watch on video monitors. He said yesterday that he wants to be known as the border president.
I'm going to be known as your border president. And Kamala will be known as your invasion president. Just let them all come in. Let them all come in. Now, we got to save our country. Our country's going down. If you look at what's happening with the Venezuelans taking over, I mean, they're taking over large pieces of real estate in Colorado, and you have a Democrat governor who's petrified of them. He's afraid. I'd never seen anything like it, and he doesn't want to talk about it. They've taken over your buildings and your land. You got to do something about it. That wouldn't happen with Bruce Blakeman, I can tell you right now. Bruce, would you let people come in from a foreign country like Venezuela, where, by the way, their crime rate is down 72% because they've taken their prisoners, they've taken their gangs, they've taken their drug dealers, and they've shipped them all to the United States, so their crime rate's down.
The latest Fox News poll was released yesterday. Vice President Kamala Harris, according to the poll, edged President Trump in a head-to-head matchup as more voters are seeing Harris as the candidate who will help the middle class. Now, it could be because she repeatedly says she's from the middle class. I mean, have you heard her answer a question yet? I don't care what the question is, what the topic is. She always somehow twists in the idea that she's from the middle class. The new Fox News national survey finds a 3 percentage point shift among registered voters in the 2024 presidential contest, this since about mid-August. Trump had a 1-point advantage last month, while Harris is ahead by 2 points, 50 to 48% in the latest numbers. For reference, in July, Trump was up 1 point over President Joe Biden. Each of these differences falls within the margin of error, which means it's a toss-up. This marks the first time, though, that Harris has hit the 50% point, and the trial ballot result is identical among both registered and likely voters. Of course, presidential elections are decided by electoral votes from the states, not national votes. Hillary Clinton had a 2-point popular vote margin over Trump in 2016, but lost the Electoral College, as you remember, 304 to 227. Biden had a 4-point popular vote in 2020, which translated into both a popular vote and an Electoral College vote victory for him. Since the August survey, many events have happened, though. We've seen a lot of things happen. Democrat National Convention was held. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. dropped out of the race. Former Vice President Dick Cheney and former Congresswoman Liz Cheney endorsed Harris. Candidates faced off in a debate. And a second assassination attempt on Trump happened about 3/4 of the way into the survey. The biggest change since last month is that independents and Hispanics seem to be moving in Harris's way, which could be trouble. Could be. Trump gets his best numbers from voters who regularly attend worship services and non-college white men. Harris's strongest backing, of course, comes from black votes, urban voters, those under age 30, voters 65 and over, college graduates, and women. She's narrowly ahead in union households, a group that Biden won by low double digits. Her numbers also still trail his 2020 pre-election numbers a bit among blacks and young voters. Harris holds on to almost all of the 2020 Biden voters. Trump keeps nearly all of his 2020 backers as well at 94%. 94% of the people who say they voted for Donald Trump in 2020 say they will vote for him again. Among 2020 non-voters, Harris is up 51% to 48%. Now, here's an interesting point. And there's always, there's so much data in these polls, you just have to dig kind of deep. And you have to kind of look for the silver lining in there. And here's the silver lining for Donald Trump. When you're looking at the results among counties where the 2020 presidential vote was close, where Biden and Trump were within 10 points, Trump is ahead by 2 points, 50% to 48%, and he holds the same edge across the combined battleground states of Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. That's good news. Republican pollster Darren Shaw said our best estimates are that if Trump is within 2 points of Harris nationally, then he will likely win the Electoral College. These data showing a Trump edge in the key counties and battleground states suggest that's probably right. So it looks like we're headed to another. Trump could potentially win again like he beat Hillary Clinton. May not win the popular vote, but he's going to win the votes in the right place and win the electoral vote. Overall, 72% of Trump supporters say that they like his policies. They like his record. Another 8% like his character, but 19% say they dislike Harris. Views are more mixed among those backing Harris, as 42% like her policies and record, 24% like her character, while 33% say they're backing her because they dislike Trump. That negative number that Trump has and seems to not be going away. Roughly 7 in 10 Harris and Trump supporters say they're extremely motivated to vote this year. So an equal enthusiasm between both camps. Most Republicans, 75% of them, consider themselves a MAGA supporter. But among non-MAGA Republicans, 1 in 5 backs Harris over Trump. Well, if you're a non-MAGA Republican, you're not a Republican. Just go ahead and call yourself a Democrat. Anybody who claims to be a Republican but says they're going to vote for Kamala Harris for the best of the country, you ain't a Republican. Wake up. You're not. So come clean with yourself. Admit it. According to the poll, more voters think Harris, 53%, has the temperament to serve effectively as president than Trump at 47%. For Trump, that is a 10-point improvement, though, from 2017 when he was at 37%. So, again, you just have to kind of look at the numbers and take them for what they are. They're a poll of what these people would do on that particular day when they got the phone call. More than 8 in 10 voters want the next president to make significant changes in the country, including 1/3 who are looking for drastic change. Trump is preferred by a wide 31-point margin among those who want drastic change. That narrows to just 4 points among the larger group looking for either major or drastic change. When asked who they trust to handle the top issues, voters favor Trump on immigration by 10 points, the Israel-Hamas war by 7 points, and the economy by 5 points. Since being the first asked this question in March, his advantage on the economy is down some compared to what it was over Biden at one point. Harris is favored to handle election integrity, health care, abortion, transgender issues, and climate change. Surprisingly to me, neither candidate has a real advantage on guns or taxes, which are both traditionally GOP issues. And like it has been all year, the economy is the most important issue for voters. 39% say it's the priority, while fewer than half of that number say immigration 16% and abortion at 15%, all other issues at 7%. So again, as I've been telling you, it's the economy, stupid. Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. PhD Weight Loss wants you to know, yes, you can. You can get back to your ideal healthy weight. Yes, you can get back into sizes you thought you'd never see again. And yes, you can get rid of that harmful belly fat, all without becoming dependent on medication loaded with side effects. Hi, it's Joey Hudson here. PhD Weight Loss encourages and equips you to lose weight the healthy, natural way and keep it all for the rest of your life. Dr. Ashley Lucas, a licensed registered nutritionist, developed a solid plan that works. Trust me, I lost 30 pounds. You see, PhD Weight Loss removes the guesswork. They literally tell you exactly what to eat each day while you watch the pounds melt away. But they also teach you to think about food differently and to learn to anticipate and navigate situations that make you want to indulge. PhD coaches will teach you to believe finally that yes, you can do it. With no gimmicks or lifelong medications, finally lose the weight and keep it off. Yes, you can. Call today. PhD Weight Loss, 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900, or go to myphdweightloss.com. The Islamic Republic of Iran hacked former President Donald Trump's campaign and turned over the stolen materials to the Joe Biden-Kamala Harris campaign, according to federal officials. Federal officials from the FBI and ODNI, I don't even know what is ODNI. I got to look that one up. Other federal agencies said in a joint statement that Iranian hackers sent the stolen materials to then Joe Biden, Kamala Harris's campaign officials back in June and July. Information that the hackers sent to the then Biden-Harris campaign contained an excerpt taken from stolen non-public material from former President Trump's campaign as text in the emails. This is further proof, according to Caroline Leavitt, the Trump campaign national press secretary, said, this is further proof the Iranians are actively interfering in the election to help Kamala Harris and Joe Biden because they know President Trump will restore its tough sanctions and stand against their reign of terror. Kamala and Biden must come clean on whether they used the hacked material given to them by the Iranians to hurt President Trump. What did they know and when did they know it? It's a valid question. It's very unclear, based on the information we have right now, exactly what this information was and how much information they shared with the Biden-Harris campaign. Of course, Joe Biden dropped out of the race in mid-July after getting crushed by President Trump in the early presidential debate. Many of his campaign staff were retained by Harris as the campaign was kind of rolled over to her. Federal officials claimed that there was currently no information indicating that Biden-Harris officials even replied to the emails. Well, what did they do? And what kind of, was it links to data? Was it attachments to data? What was it? The statement claimed that Iran's goal was to, quote, stoke discord and undermine confidence in our electoral process. You think? I mean, why else are they going to be doing this? Of course they're wanting to stoke discord. Of course they're trying to create chaos in our electoral system. The Harris campaign tried to distance itself, as you know, from the Biden campaign, claimed that they were among the intended victims of this foreign influence operation. Look, if they had received information that they've been able to use against Trump, we may not know it, and they're not going to come clean with it. They're not going to tell us. National security officials have warned that Iran is trying to sabotage Trump's campaign. Iran hacked Trump's campaign and gave the information to news organizations, and Iran has attempted to assassinate Trump. I mean, they made it very clear. They would love for Donald Trump to go away. So that's one thing as far as the campaign for Kamala Harris. Get this now. Hillary Clinton is trying to make the argument that Vice President Harris doesn't need to clarify her policy positions in interviews, and said that the 2024 Democratic candidate is facing a double standard from voters and the media. Clinton told Kara Swisher on her podcast, the Kara Swisher podcast, never heard of her, that Kamala Harris doesn't need to talk about her policies, arguing that putting these on her website is enough.
She does not have to do it, Kara. I'm going to just cut to the chase. In fact, she's put out policies on her campaign website. Mm-hmm. Anybody who's truly interested can go and read about them. She referenced policies. Mm-hmm. She actually doesn't just have policies and concepts. She has, plans about what to do. I think it's it's a double standard, and it's a double standard that is partly because they are still getting to know her, but also because they're still grappling with the idea like, oh, am I really going to vote for a woman to be president and commander-in-chief?
All right, what do you make of this? Be honest with me here. Send me a quick text, email me, joe@joeyhudson.com. Is Hillary Clinton serious here? I mean, what politician in their right mind thinks the American people are going to accept the idea that a politician is not going to present details on their policy initiatives? That we're okay if they don't tell us what they're really going to do, what their plans are. And by just posting them on their website, is she real? They can go to her website and find out all they need to know. Well, look, I've been there. There's not a whole lot on there. And that's been, and if you look at the Fox News poll that I just talked with you about a few minutes ago, one of the problems that Kamala Harris is having is people don't think that she's trustworthy and don't believe that she understands the issues and that she doesn't have a plan. Same thing, same as far as the polls after the debate. People gave her an A on style, but an F on substance. Is she trying to sabotage Kamala Harris, you think? You think Hillary Clinton really didn't mean this in a good way, but that she's trying to throw this out there, thinking that maybe Kamala Harris will hear it, Kamala Harris will believe it, Kamala Harris will continue to not be specific on her policies, not offering information on what she actually proposes to do? And maybe if she hears Hillary Clinton saying this and giving this her blessing, that she'll just stay par for the course. And maybe Clinton knows that people aren't buying it and she's really trying to sabotage Kamala Harris. Because I'll bet deep down inside, Hillary Clinton does not want Kamala Harris to be the first woman president. Hillary is still hurt that she wasn't, that she lost miserably against Trump. But I still don't think she's to the point that she's ready to hand that over to Kamala Harris or any other woman in her lifetime. Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Whether you're replacing a broken appliance or maybe you're just upgrading, you're totally remodeling the kitchen, when it's time to get those new appliances, when you're ready for them, you don't want to have to wait weeks or even months to get started using them, right? Well, that's not the case when you shop with my friends at Discounted Appliance Warehouse. With over 11,000 square feet and 1,500 appliances at any given time, you can buy today and use today quite often. I'm talking about shopping with my friends at Discounted Appliance Warehouse in Pickens. It's worth the short drive over to Pickens. Jeff, Johnny, Kyle, the whole team over there, they'll take good care of you. They have an award-winning service department, expert installation, extended warranties, and at Discounted Appliance Warehouse, They treat you like family. You're more than just a credit card swipe to all the team over there. Discounted Appliance Warehouse. They're proud to offer Speed Queen, the only washer and dryers with manufacturer's warranties that cover parts and labor. You owe it to yourself, if you're looking for a new appliance, to head over to Pickens to Discounted Appliance Warehouse online at dawpickens.com, dawpickens.com. A senior U.S. official has confirmed to Fox News that Israel is behind the explosions of pagers used by members of the Hezbollah terrorist group in Lebanon, as new blasts were reported in Beirut yesterday. Near simultaneous detonations of pagers used by those belonging to the Iran-backed Hezbollah terror group killed at least 12 people, including 2 children, sadly, and wounded nearly 3,000 on Tuesday. The development comes as multiple blasts were heard in Beirut again yesterday, at one point during a funeral for some of the members and a child that was killed on Tuesday. Keep in mind that their religion has them to bury their dead very quickly. So you may think, well, they're already having a funeral for someone who died on Tuesday. They do. They do it very quickly. Hezbollah's Al-Manar TV reported explosions in multiple areas of Lebanon yesterday, which it said were the result of walkie-talkies detonating. So on Tuesday, we had pagers. Yesterday, we had walkie-talkies. The U.S. Embassy in Beirut later issued a message saying that, quote, following the explosion of communications devices in Lebanon on September 17th and again on September 18th, the U.S. Embassy reminds U.S. citizens to exercise security awareness of their surroundings, maintain a low profile, and take appropriate measures to ensure their safety and security. There's not enough money in the world right now to have me travel to one of these areas. It's too volatile. And a white man from the U.S. is a target. Hezbollah also is claiming that they have attacked Israeli artillery positions with rockets as a result and as a retaliation of these blasts. An American official told the AP that Israel briefed the U.S. After Tuesday's attack, in which small amounts of explosives, it was hidden in pagers. It was detonated. Evidently, as I'm understanding this, there were a couple of batches of shipments of both pagers and these walkie-talkie type radios that were, I guess, intercepted during shipment. And by the way, I think they originated in China. But they were intercepted by the Israeli forces or someone friendly to Israel. And the detonation devices were added to these pagers and radios so that they could be simultaneously detonated, which is what you saw. If you've seen some of the videos from Tuesday or yesterday, you understand what was happening. I mean, I think I've never heard of anything like this before. I think it's very creative and unique for Israel to get their attention, because this is how they primarily communicate with one another. This is how they plan their attacks on Israel, using these pagers and radio devices. Don't you know that right now, if you're a terrorist sitting in Beirut planning your next attack on Israel, you're not wanting to have a pager or a radio anywhere near you, because how do you know if it's not going to be the next? And they caught them off guard again. I mean, even after Tuesday when the pagers all exploded, to come back and have a different device explode on Wednesday, because I'm sure everybody threw their pager away. After Tuesday, I'll bet you nobody was walking around with a pager on their side. You agree? They probably thought that these radios, and again, these are those walkie-talkie type radios. A lot of construction workers use them. They're more reliable because they have a different radio signal than a cell phone does. Cell phones don't always work over there. When asked this morning about Tuesday's explosion, a pager explosion, Secretary of State Antony Blinken said, quote, the United States did not know about nor was it involved in these incidents. He said, we're still gathering the information and gathering the facts. Broadly speaking, we've been very clear and we remain very clear about the importance of all parties avoiding any steps that could further escalate the conflict that we're trying to resolve in Gaza. The Israel Defense Forces also announced yesterday that troops in its northern command are continuing offensive and defensive activity. We'll see. Look, I know that the Biden administration and the world wants a ceasefire. Everybody wants the fighting to stop. Israel's not going to just roll over and play dead, though. They're going to have assurances that this is really over before they're going to stop. And they're hitting them hard right now in some very creative and unusual ways. I mean, who would ever thought about a pager exploding and blowing off or potentially killing a terrorist who happened to be wearing it at the time? We'll keep you up to date on this. In a rare move, the International Brotherhood of Teamsters yesterday announced that it will not endorse a candidate for president. Now, this is odd in multiple ways. This despite releasing internal polling data that shows a majority of the union's membership supports former President Trump. Now, when I first read this, I got a little upset with the Teamsters. I'm thinking, look, you got to take a stand one way or the other. So your members are telling you that they support Donald Trump, and since that's not convenient for you, since you traditionally endorse the Democrat candidate, you're just not going to endorse anybody? Ahead of the announcement, the Teamsters posted the results of its polling. It showed that in an online survey, the union's members favored Trump 59.6% over Democrat nominee Vice President Harris, who received a mere 34%. In a phone survey, Teamsters favored Trump over Harris 58% to 31%. So either way, either method of survey, Trump wins with a considerable margin. Trump support among Teamsters has surged since it became official that Kamala Harris would be replacing Joe Biden at the top of the ticket. The union's polling prior to Biden dropping out showed Biden was ahead of Trump among members, 44.3% to 36.3%, a small margin, but a margin. Kamala Harris, evidently, the Teamsters do not like her, even though other unions have been lining up behind her for some reason. So, in explaining this odd decision to not endorse a 2024 presidential candidate, Teamsters General President Sean O'Brien issued a statement saying the union's extensive member polling showed no majority support for Vice President Harris and no universal support among the membership for President Trump. I don't quite get that second part because their data shows clearly that there is support for Donald Trump. He appeared on Neil Cavuto, Your World, yesterday on the Fox News Network. And Cavuto just asked him, why did you decide not to endorse either candidate?
Why not? Why not Donald Trump?
How are you, sir? Well,
Very
listen,
good.
we interviewed both candidates, and we were seeking commitments from both candidates, and we couldn't get solid commitments on our core issues like the PRO Act, like veto and national right to work, like staying out of labor disputes and not trying to force any contracts on us, like what happened to our brothers and sisters in the rail industry. We didn't get solid commitments from either candidate, which was a major factor in our decision as a General Executive Board not to endorse any candidate. However, we did a lot of polling, as you know, and the polling leaned heavily towards former President Trump. So that tells you that
very heavily, Sean. And I'm just wondering, do you look disconnected from your members?
No, we're definitely not disconnected from our members because, look, we did extensive polling that was important. Our goal as leaders, as union leaders, as leader of the Teamsters, is to provide the ability for people to have a voice and to provide credible information And we cannot dictate to our members. Our members are sophisticated. They're going to make their own decisions. But this is a bigger problem. You know, the Democrats have always taken for granted that they're going to get our vote no matter what. And the Republicans fancy themselves as the working people's party. I think right now both sides have to take a step back and really reevaluate what their commitment is to working people. And that's what we did in this process.
This is a very different year for sure. The Teamsters' decision not to endorse a candidate is very odd. This, of course, is a very powerful union. They represent about 1.3 million workers in the U.S., and they've endorsed the Democrat candidate for president since 1992. The last time they endorsed a Republican was in 1988. The Teamsters also become the only union among the nation's top 10 not to support Harris as she faces off against Trump. The Trump campaign was quick to spotlight the vote by the Teamster rank-and-file members, saying, quote, union workers support President Donald Trump. That was the headline of a release from the president's campaign. Trump campaign National Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt argued in a statement that, quote, the hardworking members of the Teamsters have been loud and clear they want President Trump back in the White House. These hardworking men and women are the backbone of America, and President Trump will strongly stand up for them when he's back in the White House. All right, I got a theory here for you. Here's my theory. Is their non-endorsement of Harris actually not an endorsement of Donald Trump, particularly since they chose to release their data to show us what the actual poll showed? Is this their way of really kind of backhanding Kamala Harris and showing the nation that the Teamster rank and file actually support Donald Trump? Love to get your comment on that. Hope you'll join the conversation today. 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Send your comments to the Firmin Ford text line. You can leave a quick voice message, and your emails are always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Firmin Ford text line, you know, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Firmin Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Firmin Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Firmin, Matthew Firmin. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Firmin Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Firmin Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Firmin Ford online at firminford.com, firminford.com. On the text line today, Chris writes, Joey, we keep hearing there's not enough funds for protecting Trump. Maybe they need to stop sending the billions of dollars to Ukraine and put those funds towards funding the Secret Service. Chris, you're dead on it, buddy. But that's too simple. It would never occur to those idiots in Washington to stop sending money to Ukraine so that we could benefit from those billions of dollars here in the U.S. Think about what we could do with that money. In addition to providing Secret Service protection to Donald Trump, think about what we could do for our veterans. Think about what we could do for our senior citizens. We throw more money away, all because we want to be liked all around the world. We want to be their friends. We want to be seen as the as their savior, coming in and taking care of them. Now, I get that there's a portion that, you know, we have to be involved in diplomacy, but diplomacy is one thing. Just giving our money away, basically, it's equal to just throwing our money into a burn pile. Ace writes, if the media announced that Joe Biden would be at the beach with no security, no one would care. He's a tree stump with hairy legs that kids like to brush down in a pool. Joe Biden is done. Trump is considered a threat to the leftist rhetoric. President Trump really needs to hire some awesome security. I'm sure he has the resources. Have a great rest of your day, Joey. Thank you. Appreciate that. And look, I suspect Donald Trump probably has some security of his own, and I'll bet he'll be beefing that up. Texter says, we need to free up the security for our president. Take away security from Hunter Biden as well as the Clintons and Obama's children. Good point. Scott in Toccoa writes, good morning, Joey. I figured out the difference between Trump's and Harris's plans. I'm all ears, Scott. Here's what he writes. Harris plans to help. $6,000 child tax credit is included in that. $50,000 small business credit. $150,000 home loan assistance. Trump's plan to help. No tax on tips. No tax on Social Security benefits. No tax on overtime. He sums it up. Harris wants to take more to give some back. Trump wants to take less so everyone has more. He says, now, I've never been accused of being the sharpest knife in the block, but it seems the plan to take less is better. Thank you, Scott. That's a nice analysis, and I think you're right. Faye says, wow, that was a great rally in New York. I think I've watched 98% of them, and tonight's was one of the best. He was well received. The stadium holds 8,000-ish and over 55,000 requested tickets. Super great. Trump 2024. I'll correct you on one thing, Faye. It's my understanding, and I looked into this yesterday, the stadium holds 16,000. 60,000 tickets were requested. We're both pretty close there, though. The idea is a lot of people stood outside and watched it on video monitors. Have you seen anybody standing around in parking lots watching Kamala Harris on a monitor? I think not. Texter, good morning. If you Google Sharpton Harris reparations, she tells him that when she's elected, she will definitely support it. This in response to me talking about the idea that the National Association of Black Journalists, or whatever it was, the group that interviewed Kamala Harris yesterday, they tried to press her on an answer as to whether or not, if she becomes president, she would use her executive order privilege and create a task force, a commission on reparations. She dodged the question yesterday. Now, granted, she didn't talk about she was from the middle class. Have you noticed how that's sort of the go-to answer now between she and Tim Walz both? Yes, I saw, I think it was in Asheville, North Carolina, Tim Walz being asked the question about their economic plans. And he talked about how they had a plan and they both understand the economy because they both came from the middle class. Well, how does that equate to what your plan is just because you were middle class? Hey, I was middle class too. Doesn't mean I have a plan that will solve our problems in the economy. Texter says the Secret Service should probably be disbanded or returned to just looking for counterfeit money. They're too biased to be trusted with protecting a POTUS. Texter, they have plenty of money. They just want to give Trump as few qualified Secret Service agents as possible, especially if they can't put their gun back in their holster. Brian from Taylor's. All right, Brian. Brian's making fun of one of the female agents that you saw in Butler, Pennsylvania, who was struggling with her gun in her holster. If it hadn't been such a serious situation, it would have been hilarious. It was like Barney Fife trying to get his gun drawn. And that kind of shows you what the Secret Service has devolved to. And that kind of answers some of the speculation, too, that Secret Service has gone so woke that they're too focused on satisfying their DEI quota as opposed to getting qualified men and women who can actually do the job, who can actually protect a president. If I were depending on Secret Service to protect me right now, I might be a little concerned. Now, again, I say that with the caveat that there's some great agents out there, but there's also some that probably shouldn't be in the Secret Service. And I'll bet you I've got some friends in the Secret Service who would agree with me on that one. Texter says, Joey, this entire assassination plot was done by the Democrats to just shake up the conversation. He was not a shooter, just looked like one. It changed the conversation and rhetoric. All these illegals should have never been let in, but we're stuck with them now. They'll never leave. Thanks. Roger. Roger, you're right. Unless Donald Trump is elected and can carry through his promise of deporting them, of putting into motion the largest deportation in our country's history, you're right. They'll be here forever. Texter says if they knew he was there from 2 a.m. for 12 hours, why did it take so long for him to get him? Well, here's the deal. They know that he had been there since 2 a.m. only because after the fact, after they had apprehended him, they were able to track his cell phone data. But they didn't know he was there beforehand. They didn't know he was there until the agent stumbled across him. So no, they didn't. They didn't know that he was there and just let him stay there. That you know, your cell phone. You can't, if you've got a cell phone in your pocket right now, if someone wants to find you, they can find you, whether you have it, whether you're using it or not. As long as that cell phone is on, it is pinging the cell towers, and they can use that information to tell exactly where you have been all day long. So if you're not wanting someone to track you, you better throw the cell phone away. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined our mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Just click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, find me on YouTube. Be sure and like, subscribe, follow me on my YouTube channel. Just search for Joey Hudson. Appreciate you spending a few minutes of your day with me. Be sure and forward this edition of Just the Truth to some friends. Just click on the share button. Send it to a few of your contacts, because if we're going to build our community and if we're going to win in November, we got to build an army of conservatives. The way we beat Joe Biden is through educating people, and no better way than encouraging them to listen to Just the Truth. Hey, keep those comments coming via the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Your emails always welcome as well. Joey@joeyhudson.com. Don't forget to take advantage of the MyPillow special, $25 for the My Towels 6-piece towel set when you use promo code Joey. Just go to mypillow.com. Always use promo code Joey. We're back again tomorrow. Hope you will be too. Remember, God's got this. He's still in control.